If we want to stimulate the upcoming match between Devon and Levan, we have to deeply analyze the recent match between Devon and Georgie. Georgie is a mini Levan. They both have the same style of top roll and the same explosiveness. Both are one-lane or one-dimensional arm wrestlers. They just hit straight to the pin pad. Even in appearance, Georgie from the side looks like Levan's brother with the same head curves. During all the rounds, Devon was pronating statically in the strap 1 second before the referee said go. Since Georgie is more explosive than Devon, he was the one going into the offensive side. Devon Larratt's pronation was activated before the match even started, so he already established pronation and hand position. Both of their cups were failing at some point. As Georgie goes sideways, Devon uses a more open top roll to compensate with pronation because his arm was going down. If you look closely at Devon's style, you can notice that he lets his entire body go down instead of his arm while activating pronation all the way. Devon Larratt's riser was solid too. It never went down. Devon's endurance was superior to Georgie's. If Devon can close the strength gap with Levan, we can technically say that this scenario might be repeated. And I want to mention that neither of them has a flop press. Devon's current arm strength is no joke. We all saw the way he handled Dave, Hermes, Dennis, and Georgie. Devon's pronation has a sensation device. As soon as external force is applied to his arm, the pronator activates automatically. His pronator contraction power is directly proportional to the applied external force. The problem is that sometimes the arm connected to the pronator fails first, which results in the destruction of the whole system. Once his pronator is activated, the riser follows to compensate for the lost cupping strength. Devon Larratt's pronation is overpowered in comparison to his arm strength. His arm is a limiting factor that prevents him from lifting heavy weights on the pronation single lifts and from beating stronger opponents like Levan. The most important thing for Devon is that he must prevent his arm from getting supinated, which results in a weaker king's move and exposes his biceps, making him more prone to injury like the first time. Levan hit faster in the second round with even more back pressure, which all created more load on Devon's biceps. But the current version of Devon is monstrous in comparison to the one that faced Levan previously. Devon's pronation will work as hard as possible just to equalize the force coming out of Levan's cup. Devon didn't complain about Levan's hand size since he's been using the 3-inch diameter multi-spinner, the best stimulator of Levan's hand. Devon won't give a f*** about his own cup, because he can still effectively pronate while his hand is bent back. He compensates with the riser. That left hand practice gives me a little bit of hope, even though Levan was being gentle with Devon and not being explosive. Devon's pronation had done a great job giving Levan's cup a good amount of power, forcing it backward. That was the arm he doesn't train, but of course, we can take that practice pull seriously. When Devon extends his arm fully, this gives him the most possible power from pronation. He can force everyone's wrist back on the entire planet. The way he trains pronation all day long made it like an alligator roll. He targets his pronation with singles, multi-spinner, resistance bands, and belts 24/7. No wonder he achieved the strongest pronation on Earth, probably behind Levan a little bit. A theory suggests that Devon's pronator muscle anatomical position puts it in good leverage. The tendon is maybe connected higher and more around the radial bone. In that way, he needs less contraction force to overpower his opponent's cup. And maybe he's gifted with a pronator muscle that adapts fast for strength and has a good combination of slow and fast twitch muscle fibers. Devon's pronation is so strong to the point where he now can bust the opponent's wrist back in the center. He doesn't even have to move his body. His static strength is off the charts. He rarely uses the king's move now. His finger clamping and grip strength is important because it helps him contain his opponent's climbing when they move their elbow forward to regain height. The ability to run to the king's move has always made Devon good against any top roller who can't transition to a flop wrist. Levan in the first round used more side pressure similar to Chaffee, which gave Devon more room to pronate. Back pressure, on the other hand, naturally flattens out the hands and blocks pronation, which means a less connected king's move. Levan hit a pretty textbook posting to prol in both rounds, which is an inherently back pressure-driven technique. I saw, however, that he focused more on extending Devon through back pressure in the second round before using side pressure for the pin, while he applied earlier in the first round. The effectiveness of the king's move is all about pronation, and Levan simply disengaged Devon from his pronation earlier in the second round, thereby exposing his elbow flexion. If you've ever seen bicep tears during heavy deadlifts using mixed grip, there's a reason why it almost always happens to the supinated arm. It's also unlikely that he hurt his bicep alone, given that it handles mostly supination and elbow flexion. A brachialis or brachioradialis injury seems much more likely, only when a tendon comes off the bone and the muscle rolls up. How obvious is it when you have a tear in the muscle belly or a partial tear of the tendon? Even so, it's just as likely he ruptured something in his brachialis as his bicep. Most people erroneously refer to any flexor in the upper arm as bicep, but he could have easily torn his brachialis. It's crazy how strong Devon has become. He used to be a defensive puller who bled all of his opponents out. Now he's been the one on the offense for all his recent matches with super heavyweights. It's only against Levan that Devon is going to be forced into a defensive position again. If he pulls Levan in spring and somehow beats him, it's easy for people to dismiss it as Levan not yet fully recovered. We haven't seen Devon go up against someone as strong with the wrist as Georgie since Levan. Devon's greatest advantage over Levan is his arm wrestling IQ and mastery of basically all known techniques. Levan, on the other hand, is an extremely strong and bullish one-trick pony. After monumental waste of time during setup with all the arguing, loading, and false starting, and by elbow fouling, it should be possible to make Levan tired enough to be stoppable. The match starting outside of the straps would be a huge advantage for Devon, in my opinion. I don't think Levan can pin Devon outside of the straps without Devon slipping, and I'm pretty sure Levan will try to contain Devon outside of the straps. That will, for sure, pump Levan's arms a bit. If Devon ups his back pressure, he can increase his chances more than other ways. And I'm sure he has a lot of room for quick improvement on a back pressure lift. If you watch Devon's training videos, on his channel and others in the past year, he's pretty clear that he's just focusing on training top-end strength. Devon believes top-end strength and perfect technique are the key to success, and so far this year, it has been working for him. So hard to dispute. In his recent matches, you can see he is countering the explosiveness of his opponents by reacting with his own explosiveness, then using isometric holds to drain them, then using his own explosiveness with momentum, plus perfect technique to hit and crash through their defenses, or transitioning to a fresh muscle group like the press. He's been outweighed by nearly everyone, and if it's just fat he is gaining, it is utterly pointless. The thing Devon needs is what Terzi started. He needs more arm and bicep. Devon is 100% going to the losing side of the table every round like he did with Georgie. He just needs to be able to keep his arm from being so stretched out and get the stop. His ability to stop people farther from the pin pad due to improved elbow integrity gives him more space and time to counter his opponent's transitions to the press by being able to bring his own shoulder in first.